Hey everyone, good morning. It's Rebecca Undem, and you are watching Rebecca Undem Live, the weekly Facebook show where we tackle one small, simple topic to help you live bigger in your small town. And it is the last Monday in the month of March, and our monthly topic for this month is tending your garden. Now, I have no idea what's happening in your neck of the woods in terms of weather, but it freaking looks like November in North Dakota right now. We are getting serious accumulation in snow, and like legit, it looks like winter. So this whole thing of tending your garden, it has, if nothing else, been a little bit of a emotional hijacking to try and like get through the season. I don't know what you guys are dealing with, but as you come on, why don't you tell me? Because hopefully, like if you guys, any of you are where it's warm and you post a picture of like sunshine, I'll still love you. I'll be damn jealous, but I will love you. So as you come on, please say good morning. Good morning, Cheryl. You got Cheryl with us today. She's got sunglasses on her little smiley face. I don't know if that means you're somewhere warm, but good for you if you are. Yeah, it's I had shared like last week, it was last week in our free group, which you all need to be a part of if you're not. The Groove Seekers community is a fun place to hang out. That I seriously think this year I might have some seasonal affect disorder. It's a legit thing. I know it's real. I've just never felt it like I feel it this year. I just want the winter to be over. And Jesse said it's cold in Kansas. Oh, they had 70s and 80s last week. That is nuts. Yeah, it doesn't ever get into even the 70s in March in North Dakota. So, oh my gosh, Jesse, you're making me feel like maybe Kansas is the place to go. And then today we're talking about blooming where you're planted, like environment. We're talking about environment. So it's funny that I would even say that right now. So we got Cindy, good morning, Jayette, good morning, and Wendy, hey everybody. Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys, this is probably one of the things that I think about that consumes me, that I care about maybe more than anything else. And I could talk about this stuff, the stuff we talk about here, I could just talk about it all day long. That's how I know that I'm in the right field, right? Like I could never get enough of it. Today though, this specific thing that we're talking about is the second half of the phrase, bloom where you're planted. So last week we talked about what does it really mean to fully bloom? And today we're talking about how the hell do you do it where you're planted? And so we're talking about environment. So essentially I've got five ways to embrace the environment that you're in, because it's so important and it's not easy. Like it's just not an easy thing. So we've got Nicole, good morning. I need spring too. D, it's snowy in Minnesota again too. Well, at least I'm not alone. And clearly I'm not alone. Like all the people that even live in my community, we're all like, oh my gosh, are you kidding? It's all good, right? We're going to get there. Eventually spring will come and we will be like all new people and we'll be so sunshiny and we'll be out and about and we'll be singing to everybody and waving and it'll be wonderful when it comes. So, okay. So again, let me just quick do an intro. I think everybody on here knows exactly who I am, but if you invite your friends, I want them to know. I'm Rebecca Undem. I am the author of a book called How Mommy Got Her Groove Back, and I talk about all things groove. That is my little coined term for growing and learning and caring about yourself, putting yourself on the list, personal development, personal growth. That's what having your groove back is about. And so we talk about all things related to that on Rebecca Undem Live, and then on my Facebook page and my Facebook group. That's what we do. So we got Jesse, I'm going to skip down the driveway when it's warm again. No kidding, right? Like put on shorts when it's 60, even though it's not really warm enough. Yeah, it's crazy. It's all good. We'll get there. We'll get there. So, okay. Most of us have heard a couple of phrases that make this whole idea of environment really tricky. One of them is that environment is stronger than willpower. And so a friend of mine had told me that actually came from not the Dalai Lama, but a guy that's like heavy into meditation. I should have given the quote or like found his name. There's also, control your environment. There's also this overwhelming just idea that we should make all the choices to support our hopes and our dreams and our desires, right? And sometimes, I don't know about you guys, I want to see like a lot of hands up on this if what I speak about here resonates with you guys, and I feel like it will, because For some of you that are in small communities around the country, this hopefully will resonate and hit your heart. That's what I'm really hoping for today. And we got my girl Annie on this morning. Good morning, Annie. So, when you think about that, that's like meant to be motivational. Those kinds of phrases, like make choices, do the things that support your hopes and your dreams. Those statements are meant to be motivational. But what does that mean for somebody like me, or like some of you that are in an environment that may feel less than ideal and like perfect, right? Which no environment is perfect. But in a lot of ways, maybe it's less than ideal for how you move through the world, how the speed that you run at, the way you want to show up for people. But yet you love a person or you love a business it's the whatever that is, that's keeping you there, right? So this whole idea of being somewhere that doesn't feel like maybe the perfect best fit for you, what does that mean for us, right? When the goal or the common knowledge is make choices, do all the things that support your dreams. How do you reconcile that? It's this icky feeling that's like, oh, well, okay, so what does that mean about me then? Am I selling out? Am I cashing in? Am I squandering my potential? All of those things. If you find yourself, and then, okay, and so just to clarify, environment here could be a job as well, right? Like a job environment. For me specifically, I'm thinking about community. Like I'm trying to bloom where I'm planted in this space. So that could be for you a job, a career. It could be a marriage. It could be a home. Okay. So we're just talking about the environment, what you're surrounded by. So today we're talking about the second half, about the where you're planted piece of the phrase. And honestly, if we had full control over everything environmentally all the time, blooming really wouldn't be that hard, right? It would be easy to show up like you are, full strength. You bring all your gifts and all your awesomeness forward. If you could literally like orchestrate every single part of your environment, like only work with fun people, and right? I mean, wouldn't that be simple? But clearly that's not what life is like. And it's full of trades, trade-offs and exchanges. And so what I'm here to say today, and we're going to talk about these five ways to embrace your environment, is that you chose to be where you are. And of course I did as well, right? So sometimes the choice to just up and leave because it might support my dream better isn't reasonable or practical. And so for those of you that feel that way today, I want you to like chime in and let me know what you think about these as we go through these 5 things. But I had this experience once. I had a friend one time. We were working together, and we were off site. Like I wasn't here and we weren't in her hometown. We were together off site somewhere. And we were out for a walk before we went to our training that morning. And I was talking to her about how much I was kind of struggling. It was early on when we had moved back here, and I'm struggling with the adjustment to being in a small town again, and just feeling like, oh gosh, I don't know if this is really right for me. And she's like, well, don't you love living here, right? And I looked at her and I said, well, it probably wouldn't be my first choice. And she thought that was the saddest, most depressing thing she had ever heard. And I tried to clarify, and I looked at her and I said, well, it's not as if it's not my choice. I made a choice. It just wouldn't necessarily, if all the things could be up to me, would this be my first choice? But that doesn't make it a bad choice. And so for her, it was this thing where just like, why wouldn't you move to where you want to be if you feel that way? And I'm here to say right now, and I don't know what you guys can, if you feel this way or can relate to this, but it's because it's not that damn simple. Like so kind of one of the things is that I married a person, right? I'm married. And so any of us that are married or in a committed relationship, it can never anymore just be about your dream. You both have dreams, you both have desires, and we have to figure out how to balance those two things out. So I think for me, it was that moment where I just thought, holy crap, like people really don't get it. Like it isn't that easy to just change your environment. So what do you do instead? I've got 5 ideas. And again, these are a few things we can do. And of course, a lot of them are things that we can think about, because I swear most of professional growth and fulfillment comes down to mindset. what you're thinking about, what you're cultivating in your brain. Okay. All right. So the goal is to try and make blooming actually doable wherever you may be planted. Okay. So the first thing to know and to remember is that compromise is not the same as settling. I've got Jay on the call. We talked about this a little bit. They are not the same thing. So if you're living in your rural community or a small town because of a man, raise your hand. I realize I cannot see you. But we're here in Oaks primarily because my husband loves to farm. And now, of course, when we moved here, he didn't know if he loved to farm. But now that he does, I mean, we are making this our home because of the life it provides, not just him, our family, but it's his love and it's his passion, right? So if you're single, you can go on with your bad self and move to Bali. You're thinking about yourself. You've got your own stuff to work through. You can do what you want to do. But when you're in this committed relationship, we have to figure out how to balance what they want and what we want. And so I just want to remind you that if you chose to move somewhere, because you did choose to move there, to support somebody that you love or care about, you're not selling yourself short or somehow cashing in. It's a choice that you made to be and to support somebody to be with and to support somebody you love, and you're making exchanges for yourself to honor them. And that's ultimately what compromise is. It is a little bit of giving. It's also a little bit of taking. But if you're doing it in the spirit of love and honor for somebody else, that's not settling. That's compromising. And that's what has to happen in relationships. So first thing is, remember that settling and compromising are not the same thing. Number two, think globally, okay? If you're feeling stifled in some way, shape, or form by your environment, again, whether this is community, whether it's a work environment, we all need to take a step back and think bigger. There is an enormous world out there of opportunity, clearly beyond like my little town, right? There's a world beyond my little town. But the coolest thing about the world that we live in right now is that the internet actually makes it possible to explore that world, without physically having to leave. Although I think travel is a really great way to nurture some of this too. So I'll throw that in under think globally. If you can get out and explore with travel, that's a great thing. But geez, you guys, I mean, there's groups and there's connections and there's people and there's pages and there's businesses and there's all these things that you can engage with outside of your specific environment. It'll help you nurture the parts of yourself that maybe feel stifled or that feel like they're not being fed where you're at. So again, this is a matter of going back to the first part of the sentence, which is blooming, and thinking about, who am I? What do I value? What do I care about? And then looking for ways to cultivate those things. Because to be frank, there may not be ways to cultivate every part of yourself right in your immediate environment, especially if you're in a small town, right? So the choice is just think beyond the borders of whatever environment that you feel a little bit stifled by, and think about what you want to bring to fruition for yourself. Seek those things out, okay? Number three, always remember that the seed is what the seed is. This essentially means that if you think that uprooting yourself and planting yourself in a different environment, whether it's, again, a job or whether it's, again, a community, you need to remember that you will take you along. So this is one of those hard truths about the fact that we often think that our gifts and the fullness of ourselves is environment dependent. And don't get me wrong. I get that in certain environments, this happened to me with a work environment, which is easier to leave. Some environments are easier to leave and adjust. Do it. It's not a big deal. Ultimately, every environment can be adjusted. If you hate where you are living, you hate it. Like you wake up every day and you see nothing positive, nothing good, nothing to celebrate, you can leave it. But we're not talking about that kind of feeling, right? We're talking about just maybe it's a meh, MEH, meh. It's such a very specific feeling. It might be that. It might be that you feel stifled. It might be that you feel suffocated. But there's still got to be other things. We're going to look at that in a minute. But again, we need to think about who we really are, what gifts do I possess, and stop thinking about if only, and that's looking over the fence, right? If only I were over there, and the could be's and the should be's of what I could achieve if I were just somewhere else. The biggest problem is that we fail to see a couple things. We fail to see, first of all, that the grass on our side of the fence probably is greener, at least in patches. And secondly, our grass is real. From a distance, green grass, it could be artificial turf, friends. You're looking at something from a distance. Everything always looks a little softer and nicer from the distance. So it's about to quit looking over the fence and think about, what do you possess? What do you have? Because that's going to come with you to whatever environment you think is better or more ideal. You're still, whatever crap you're fighting, especially the internal fights, they're going to come along for the ride. So thinking about, so in my keynote message, I actually say, like, this sounds very simple, but no farmer expects to take a corn seed and plant it in a different field and have it come up as a soybean plant, because corn can only become corn. We are the same way. We have specific gifts, specific talents, specific skills. Of course, we can nurture those things, but we don't become completely different people by being planted in a different field. So look around and ask yourself, what can I do with what I have right where I'm at? How can I bloom where I am at? And stop looking over the fence. Okay? Number 4, control what you can. The beautiful thing about the truth about life is that we get to control our thoughts. We get to control our reactions. We also get to control who we surround ourselves with. These are really big choices. There is a whole lot of control. So I think, again, it's all about where we're choosing to focus. So ultimately, we get to choose whether we stay or whether we go. And if you feel like really pulled to go, I'm not saying that changing the environment's a wrong thing, but I'm really trying to talk to those of you who feel somewhat stuck to help you realize that maybe it's not that you're stuck. Maybe there's a way to actually bloom where you're at. And it takes time and it takes effort. And that doesn't mean that it's wrong just because it's harder. It doesn't make it wrong. And I think that's another kind of misconception, is that everything should just be light and bright and easy. And if you can find easy and make things easy, by all means, make it easy. But when we're talking about something as difficult and emotional as where we choose to live or where we choose to work, it is never that straightforward or never that simple. If it were, my God, you wouldn't need me at all. And I wouldn't be talking about any of these things if it was really that simple. Okay. So there's one last thing, though. I will just say this before you go. Like, if you decide or think that going and leaving your environment is the thing to do. So again, like, think small town. I'm just going to blow this popsicle stand, get out of here, go to a big city, do my thing. There's one last thing to really think about before you do. And it's number 5 of how to embrace your environment, is to value what you do have. If you really look around and you really pay attention to the blessings and the value that your environment brings to you, there's probably some pretty awesome things. And it can't be all bad. And if it is all bad, then by all means, you need to leave. You need to move on from it, whether it's a job or whatever. It doesn't matter. If it's all bad, there's no reason to stay. But sometimes we need to just remind ourselves why we came in the first place. Have all of those factors changed? Is there honestly nothing redeeming or nothing good about the place at all anymore, whatever the place is for you? If that's the case, it might be time to walk away. And the truth is, we're fixated on the idea of what's over the fence. We're fixated on what we don't have. We're fixated on how much better we think we could be if we had all of those things. And we dream about being on the other side of the fence. So again, our grass is real, which means we have the ability to water it. We have the ability to nurture it. We have the ability to make it greener because it's real. And you don't know necessarily what you would actually feel or have if you had everything that you dream about having on the other side. And the big picture with this, we sometimes actually think naively that we 100% know what's best for us. And sometimes we just don't. And some of the struggles that you're feeling or that you're kind of wrestling with in your environment are making you into a stronger person with more resolve and more character. And there's never anything wrong with that. That's growth just from the environment itself. Okay. So we need to pay attention to everything that we have at our disposal if we really want to bloom where we're at. If we want to hide, hiding's easy. You can hide everywhere, even in a small town. You just never ever show up and you never ever speak up. But that's not living. Okay. So I get that this is a challenging thing. I mean, being in a small town where there's just less people, they can see you, they can focus on you because there's not enough things to take their attention off of you. So all of the things that I've ever said to you guys on these Facebook Lives, that all is really important, like letting go of what people think about you, surrounding yourself with people that actually honor you and your choices, and mostly honoring yourself. We talked last week about belonging to you, which means it's not about fitting in, it's about belonging to yourself. All of these things are very, very hard to do if you feel a little at odds with your environment. But I'm trying to encourage you today that leaving the environment isn't necessarily the answer. Dig deep on these 5 things first and make sure that you have your mind in the right place. Because whatever crap is going on in your heart and your mind and your soul, you're going to take it with you. Okay? So again, to recap, here's the 5 ways to embrace your environment. Number 1 is realize that compromise is not the same as settling. If you're there for a man, it's okay. And you've really got to look at all of the factors that play into that decision. It's never just as simple as follow your dreams, follow your heart, and do what's good for you because you're married or in a committed relationship. Number 2, think globally. You can think and you can explore beyond the walls of your environment, whatever it is. Again, community or a actual place of business or work. Get beyond that. Think about the things that you want. Think about the things that you feel like you're missing, and find ways to cultivate them. The internet's a beautiful thing. Okay. Number 3, remember that the seed is what the seed is. You are what you are. Whatever's going on in your heart, your mind, your soul, however you move through the world, that's what you take with you to a new environment. So if you're looking over the fence, check yourself first. Number 4, control what you can. You get to control your thoughts. You get to control your responses and reactions, and you get to control the people you surround yourself with. Big choices, lots of control. We don't necessarily get to change or control what happens to us, but all of those things get us to a place where we can absolutely control what we do about it. And then number 5, value what you do have. There have got to be redeeming qualities about your environment. And again, when you're looking at something from a distance, it's super easy to say, gosh, that looks awesome and beautiful, because you're not standing right in it. Really think about what you have. Get clear about what really is working, because there's got to be something, and focus your time and your attention there. And for sure, you need to do that before you just cash in and leave, because you might one day miss it. That's why they say you don't know what you've got till it's gone. That's a phrase, right? And a song, great song. That's why you need to do that. That's why we need to think about what works, what is working for us. Let's see, Annie said, Groove School has been such a great support in helping you bloom where you're planted. I'm so thankful to hear you say that. And I agree. It's been amazing for me too, because it's, again, the choices of constantly we're pushing ourselves in Groove School to ask, what can I do? What resources do I have? It's all about problem solving in a real way, no matter where people are. So thanks, Annie. I appreciate that. Okay. So that's the 5 tips I have for you, how to embrace the environment that you're in, because frankly, it's not easy. But it's the only way to live. Otherwise, again, I say to the women that are where, like, if they're in a small town and they're there because of a marriage, right? You just have to keep talking about the way that you feel. You got to keep talking about the things that you're experiencing, because if the decision to leave does come up, and it needs to come up, you'll work through that together. Because if he loves you as much as you loved him to go there, he's not going to make you stay if you're miserable, I would guess, right? But this exchanging that's what marriage is. And that's what real relationships are, is saying, I will give these things up for you, But then, okay, so once you have these things that you've given up, it doesn't mean that you can never have them. It just might look different than what you originally planned or considered. So I really hope that this month's topic of tending your garden has been valuable for you guys. April is next week. April 1st is Easter Sunday, which is super weird. I still think it's weird. And the theme for next month for April is all about getting motivated. Which I love. I love talking about motivation. I love talking about all of this stuff. But this, I feel, is a time of year where we kind of need a resurgence of our goals. You know, we come out the new year like hot out of the gate, ready to like kill it and do all these things. And then if spring hangs on longer than it should, like it did this spring, suddenly some of those feelings and that motivation, that mojo goes away. So be sure to join me again every single Monday, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, and we're going to like talk through how to get your mojo back. Okay, the motivation that you need to actually knock the stuff out that you planned on, because it's only April. One quarter is gone. April 1's a new quarter, so it's a perfect time for us to be taking a look at motivation. Okay, so the last thing I'll say before we go is if you haven't gotten your free themed Groove wallpaper, please check that out because it's awesome and it's fun. And April's will come up on April 1st, and you can have all the past wallpapers, and I make a new one to go, design a new one to go with every month's theme. So this month's theme again was tending your garden. Next month's is getting motivated. So check that out. I'll post the link as soon as we're off here. If you're not in the Groove Seekers community, seriously, what are you doing? Check it out. It's a great place to hang out and ask some of these deeper questions about things. And if you really feel like you love what we talk about here on the Facebook Lives and you really want to commit to getting better, check out Groove School. I even have a couple of little coupon codes I could help you with to ease you into it if you needed them. All you got to do is reach out to me. But it is different than, here's how it's different than what we do here. Mostly it's because we try to hold each other accountable for actually putting the stuff into action. That's the thing that tends to be missing with a lot of personal development. I love you guys that hang out here. If you get value from this, amen. That's what I'm hoping that you get, right? But at the end of the day, without a feedback loop and without somebody saying, okay, let's talk about how it actually went for you, and then tweaking and refining, things very rarely become habit. And that's really, we are a sum of our habits. So I encourage you to check out Groove School if you feel like you're really ready for pushing yourself a little harder, maybe than even just hanging out with us here. So as always, guys, I love my Monday mornings. I love spending time with you. And I have loved these last 2 weeks talking about blooming where you're planted. It's such an important thing, especially for my people kicking it in rural America. It can be a challenging thing to do, but I am here to support you however I can. So until I see you on the first Monday of April, April 2nd, next week, I hope you guys have an amazing week. If you celebrate Easter, enjoy that time with your friends and family. Enjoy the weekend. We have 3 days off of school. I don't know when Easter Tuesday became a thing, but apparently it did. So we've got Friday off, Easter Monday, which I've always said Easter Monday, never heard of Easter Tuesday. So we're going to have a lot of togetherness. And so if you guys have that same deal, I hope that you enjoy your time with your family and friends. And as always, again, groove on until I see you again. And I love you. And I want to thank you for your time, always being here with me on Mondays. It's so, so rewarding. Okay. I love you guys. Talk to you soon.